you are what you repeatedly do, right? Going back to Aristotle as well. So it's the habits that you do every single day that create who you are in the future. So what are those habits that you're going to be building? You need to put on a pen and paper, where do I want to be? And then what kind of person do I need to become? And how can I become that person today? How can I walk like him, talk like him, dress like him, show up like him, shake hands like him? What decisions does he take? I need to start taking decisions the way that he does. I need to start building the routines that that person does every single day for me to become him. It's not about walking towards that goal. It's about bringing that person to the present moment, giving him life today, start acting like him so I elevate my vibrational frequency and match his.
And you become, resonate, attract.
Yes.
I was doing the research to try to find out kind of how you came to personal development. And I was intrigued that you started at 14, which is crazy.
It is.
Kif.
I don't know, Keith, but I've always felt it. I've always known. And there's that inner knowing inside of me that was too loud, or that I call it the inner fire. It was forcing its existence on me. Like, I'm here, you have to hear me out. You have to feel me. And it started at a very young age. I've always felt more mature and more aware than my age anyways.
Did something happen to you to accelerate the awakening, or did it just happen by itself?
If I think about it now, and I do, I think that the thing that accelerated it the most was praying. My relationship with God, yeah.
Okay.
Because that was me meditating at 14, right? When you're praying, you're meditating. It's a form of meditation.
Yeah.
And it's that, because I do believe that God gives you the gifts of wisdom, strength, patience, right? So the more that I prayed, the more that I asked for those, and the more that I got them. And it's like I was opening up channels, and especially when it comes to love, because when I was young, should I tell that story or not?
Depends on you.
So when I was young, I found a card for Virgin Mary from Medjugorje, and it said, "If you knew how much I loved you, you would cry of joy." And at the time, I was like 7 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't. To me, at 7, I don't understand. If crying means joy, means sadness. So how can I cry out of joy? And love brings happiness. How can I be sad and cry? Because, right, at 7, you don't understand these things because your brain is not fully developed yet to understand. Actually, kind of, but not all the way through. So I literally prayed for that night. I was like, "Dear God, please help me understand what it means to cry of joy from feeling a certain kind of love."
Wow.
And I believe that prayer opened up a channel of an influx of the greatest form of love, because the energy of love that I have within me is not just from my parents, and it's not just from the people that I'm surrounded by, because it's much more powerful than that, and I can feel it. It's a love that I've never experienced physically, right? So, and I do believe that prayer, out of pure intentions, when you're a child, your children are the closest to God because they're the purest form.
Wow. There's a quote that I love. It's from the Bible, and it says, "To enter the kingdom of heaven, be thy the children."
Yes.
Which means be pure,
Exactly.
be loving, be present,
Exactly.
be just a child. Because when we grow up, we start developing these.
And I was meeting up with a friend a week ago, and he was telling me the story that his sister had children now, and when he hugs the children, he really feels the purity of that, because when you're born, your soul is so pure, and it has no, of course there's generational trauma and all of that, but it has no spite, it has no hatred, it has no segregation, it has no judgment, it has nothing, it's just pure. And so when you're close to them, this is the closest to God you can get physically.
Wow.
This is incredible. So praying from that place, I feel like I asked for the purest form of love, and God gave me that purest form of love, and it really charges everything in my being, and it's behind everything that I do. It's behind every word that I say. It's behind every behavior, whether how I treat myself or how I treat other people. So coming from that place, which I believe love is the most powerful energy in the world, in the universe, It's the form it's the energy that was used to create. God created out
Wow.
of love.
Okay, this is powerful,
Right?
powerful stuff. I feel everything we do is an attempt to be loved. Do you agree?
Because everything we do is also an attempt to reconnect with our truth, and that's our truth.
And that's what you stand for.
You're coming from love. So that's what you want to get back to, your truth, love.
So that's what you mean when you say come back to your truth.
Yes.
Okay. So what I really find fascinating about your story is there's two types of people, two types of reactions. Let's not say people. There's one that's the victim,
Mhm.
and there's one that's the creator.
Right.
And I feel like you've had a huge shift, and you have this power, which I also have a lot of friends that have it too, that are pretty successful, which is to shift from one to the other, or to see it from a positive light. So let's start with this. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna skip the intro for now. I might do it later, but I feel like just jumping in.
Yeah.
I want to go back to January 1st, 2024, when you had
Happy New Year.
when you had that tragic accident happen to you. And I want to tell you, first of all, two things. Can you run us back to what happened?
Mhm.
And then can you tell us kind of, let's first go through this.
Actually, it was 2 accidents in one day.
In one day?
Yes. 2
How?
accidents on January 1st, 2024.
That's actually crazy. How did that happen?
Crazy. 2024 is a wild ride. I love it though. I love it, and I'm so curious on the adventure it's
Okay.
going to take me. And that's we're going to get to that
Okay.
part too. So what happened is that I was going back home from New Year's Eve with my friends. We were 5 in the car. I was sitting in the back seat in the middle, so I was able to see the entire road. And as we were going, the road had a lot of turns. And so my friend, instead of going through the turn, he kept on going straight. And then he went into the downhill, down the mountain hill. And then the car turned around 2 times, 360 degrees.
What?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know anything of this.
I know.
I thought it was just 2 cars.
Yeah. No other car was involved.
So
in
was
both
that the
accidents.
first or the second accident?
That was the first.
Okay.
That was around 3 a.m. Ambulance came. Everyone was good. I just couldn't move much because of my neck and my back. Yeah, so the ambulance had to come, take me to the hospital. We did the tests. Nothing was broken. It was just, muscle, severe muscle tensions to protect my spine, because then my neck, when the car turns, my neck went like that, and my spine fully, yeah.
Okay.
But thank God, everything's good. I'm healthy. I'm good now, perfectly good. So after finished at the hospital at around 7 a.m., I went home. I slept, woke up, started my day on the couch, of course.
Okay.
Couldn't move much. But every Monday was a Monday. So every Monday I go to Sainte Thérèse in Saile church.
Okay.
So I wanted to go, especially after an accident like that.
Okay.
I don't care. I can't drive because I can't move my neck to see left and right. So I had my sister take me. And as we were driving there, she explains it like that. She doesn't know. She was about to catch the highway, and the internal highway though. And something happened where she just couldn't see anymore. And she went on the highway divider. The car went on the highway divider.
Like the
separator. What do you call it?
From the two sides. So some
Yes.
cars are going this way,
Some
the
cars
other
are going
cars the
that
other way.
And
the car went up.
Went up
in between
the middle. Yeah. And so it was like that. She hurt her lower back. I didn't hurt anything except for the like what happened?
Yeah.
Seriously, did we just get into another accident?
What?
Again, ambulance, hospital, scans.
What did you feel at that moment?
And the second one? Or the first?
The two.
Okay. So
the culmination of the two, so one after the other.
Because it was 2 completely different experiences.
Okay.
How I felt, at least. And the first one, which was the more tragic one, if you want.
Okay.
It was crazy. And, I've worked a lot on my mental. I've worked a lot on my mindset and my awareness and all of that. But it was times like that where I realized that I really have done the inner work. And I was grateful because, you've read The Power of Now, The Observer, that level of awareness of completely disconnecting yourself from the situation, not identifying yourself with it, not attaching yourself to the story, not playing the victim. I was out watching myself. And
What?
I was able to completely disconnect from what happened. And I was
Mhm.
like, choose your story. Do you want to be the victim of this? Something just happened this New Year's, an accident, we just
Scenario
went
one.
down. Scenario one, exactly. I talked about this on my Instagram post, and that would usually come from a place of I need attention, I need love, I need care, right? I didn't need that because I've done the inner work. Of course, love is beautiful to feel, but I didn't have that
Yeah.
need. So the second story was, it's crazy. It's funny. The second story is for me to choose how do I want to experience this in a positive way, because I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again here. Every event is neutral. The meaning you give to that event makes it either positive or negative. So that event was completely neutral. What's the meaning that I want to give to it? That's going to create the story in my mind. So here I was like, part of what I do is public speaking, and part of what I want to do is take that a lot further, right? So I'm like, the first thing I said is adventure time, like, because I'm all about, experiencing life. So like, I'm on an adventure, like, perfect. I just went through something that I don't usually go through. I did something for the first time, right? When was the last thing you did something for the first time? I think that's a very powerful question. Another thing is that I'm like, wow, now I have a more interesting story to share with my audience on stage. Now I can move them through their emotion. Now I can talk about something that can really connect to some of those people. And now this experience that I just have, because of that level of awareness, is going to be able to help me help them. So the entire, even when I was sitting on the couch and I couldn't move for 2 weeks, I was just, I couldn't really sleep well, or, sit well, or drive, or even work out, everything. So sitting on that couch, I work with professional athletes. And part of what professional athletes go through is injuries. They have to sit and stop doing anything. They have to, experience pain. They
The
have
hardest
to,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of athletes I've worked with have gone through that. So I wanted to put myself in their shoes, and how can I help them better? What are the tools that I give them? How can I apply it on myself? Is it going to help or not? How can I upgrade the tools that I use? What kind of pain do they feel? Let me feel it. How can I let go of it? How can I connect with my body deeper? So I was using that experience, and instead of asking myself, why is this happening to me 2 in a row in one day? I asked, what is this trying to teach me? How can I become a better person? How can I become a better professional because of what I just experienced?
How is this happening for me? So
Yeah.
we have so people know there's actually how do we say tableau, which means in English, let's translate. And it says
Painting,
things are working out for me.
Yeah.
And it relates to also to Tony Robbins' philosophy. And we're going to explore your philosophy today. But I shared this story. I wanted to start this with a compliment. But I felt like sharing your story would be a much stronger statement to who you are as a person than saying, Maria is a great person, that's so nice. No, I think your story proves that you talk the talk and you walk the walk.
I do my best.
Yeah, and that's one thing I admire in you.
Thank you.
And I think now is the perfect time to do the introduction. So, hey, Rich Souls. Today is a new episode of Rich Inside. I'm your host, Aji, and today we have a very, very special guest. The objective of this podcast is to help you unlock the secret wisdom of high performers that match between spirituality and high performance to help you unlock a richer, more enlightened, and meaningful life. Today we have Maria Saab, who's a Mindvalley high performance coach, who's an international speaker, and who also happens to be a very, very good friend. And today we're going to explore everything when it comes down to 3 things. The first one is, I think when you, okay, I know the second one, which is basically breaking free from limiting beliefs. The third one is reconnecting to your true self and being a creator of your life. And the first one is awareness. So that experience you just shared, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Second of all,
Thank
the
you for
first
having
experience we shared of you having that accident and having scenario 1 and 2, 1 being the victim, 2 being the creator, is very, very powerful to everyone's day-to-day experience. everyone goes through stuff and has a choice to decide how they interpret everything that
sir.
happens. So let's start this with this. We live in a culture in Lebanon where it's very, the norm is to be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to talk, to have a megaphone that could talk to the entire nation now live and they're all listening to you on this subject, what would you say?
No pressure. on the subject of having a victim mentality.
Yeah.
To me, first, victim mentality comes from what? Comes from needs. There's a need that you have because of something that you didn't get from childhood.
So
right?
from trauma.
For sure.
Okay.
Trauma or experiences or just lack of love, affection, being
Lack of
heard,
love.
being understood. From the upbringing, 50% of your personality is formed from the age of 0 to 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that relates to Bruce Lipton, the fact that it's like you're in a hypnosis state.
Actually, I like this topic. Do you want to go there or do you
Let's
want me
go.
to get this? Okay.
And then we can go back to whatever you want. We can go back to the other one.
Okay. So you know how Aristotle says that you are born as tabula rasa? You are born as a white sheet of paper. That's what Aristotle says.
I've never heard this.
Yeah.
This is so interesting.
So I thought about it. And I'm sure other philosophers have thought about it. I'm not going to take any credits, but I just did my own analysis of what he just said. I'm like, are we born as a white sheet of paper? Actually, how I understand it is we are mind, body, and soul, right? So my mind is born as a white sheet of paper, yes, because it knows nothing about the physical world. But I have a soul that is all-knowing, all-wise, all-powerful, because it's from the Creator. This is the Creator, and we are extensions of Him, right?
This is so powerful. I like this.
That is who I am. When I say I'm being, I am, it's my soul. I'm not going to separate the mind, the body, and the soul because they are one in this lifetime, right? But at the same time, the essence of the life force that is in me is my spirit. And that is not a white sheet of paper. But my spirit, to navigate the physical world, it needs my mind and it needs my body. So my mind needs to first start to create definitions on what things are to be able to serve, because my mind's main purpose is to be safe and alive, right? So to be able to keep me safe and alive, it needs to know everything in my surrounding. And this is where the ego starts to build up. And if you want to know what's a tree, what's a pen, what's a paper, what is this color? Does this hurt me if I touch it? Does this bring me more pain? Let me get away from it because it's dangerous. What is familiar? Because that's safe. What is unfamiliar? That's dangerous. That's how your mind draws on things. So from the age of 0 to 7, you're starting to make sense of the world. And how do you make sense of the world? First, by observing. How do my parents react when I cry? How do they act with themselves? How do they act with each other? How do they act with me? What kind of emotions do they give me? What kind of emotions do they not? How does that say about me and what I deserve? If they don't give me love, then I don't deserve love. And the child, just as important as the milk that they get, the love is just as nourishing. And the child is going to do everything it takes to get the love of the parent, even if it's, overachieving eventually in their life, right? Let's talk about high performance. Where does it come from?
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. Why are you not good enough? I'm not good enough because I don't deserve my parents' love that I needed and I didn't get when I needed it. But how true is that?
Wow, that's so powerful because a lot of high achievers are fueled. I am one of them. I'm not talking about everyone, but I was fueled by trauma and trying to prove that I was good enough.
And that's why life happens for you, not to you. Because trauma was supposed to be there for you to become the person you're supposed to become. Only if you stop, you take the lesson and you actually apply.
You actually apply. So then it connects to the point we said in the beginning of being the creator or the victim.
Yes.
So the trauma can happen to anyone and you choose
and almost
either.
Everyone, honestly, in different forms and levels and intensities.
But it's pretty crazy. Like trauma, for a long time when I was younger, let's go back to when we were young. We were fascinated by personal development, success, achievement. And I was fascinated by Kobe Bryant and all these huge performers. And I went on the road to success, trying to think that it will be the source of fulfillment that will fulfill me. And as you go, I studied more and more successful people and realized, connected the dots, that they all went through trauma. Like we just talked about the book of Oprah, and she went through trauma when she was younger. Her parents left her or something, which is a form of trauma. Michael Jackson, his father was really violent and very coercive with him. MJ the same. Will Smith, his mother used to be his dad. So there's a lot of trauma that fuels success. How can you heal from this?
Oh wow, that's a long journey. Whew, I think it's different. It depends on what you went through, right? So the number one step, speaking of your number one topic, the number one step towards any change in behavior is awareness. One, you need to be aware of how you feel, where you stand, and where you are. If I don't know that I've went through trauma, and if I don't know that I'm not okay, how can I start to become okay or do something about it? I need to first be aware of what is it that I'm going through, what is it that I'm feeling, and to know that that's something's wrong.
So the awareness,
yeah,
and does it take kind of mindfulness to do it?
I'm not gonna say that. Yes, it does. It takes self-awareness, because not every person who's mindful is aware of what they're feeling.
Okay.
So that's why I don't want to generalize that. But
okay.
It does take self-reflection. It does
self-reflection.
take,
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And self-reflection, I think, is one form of being mindful.
Like journaling or some form.
And just asking yourself the right questions.
Like what?
Like example, first, if something triggered you, right?
Yep.
And that, why did it trigger you? It triggered you because you have unhealed emotions that you have within you. And it's not about what the person did, and it's not about who you are. It's about that thing that they did spoke to that unhealed emotion, and that reaction that you did was because to protect yourself from the pain you felt through that emotion.
So the ego, the survival,
exactly,
and safety.
So when you ask yourself the right questions, here in this case, it's not why did this person do this to me? No, it's why did I feel something when this person did that?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because I feel it inside of me. Okay. So what's really interesting with high performance, let's go into that realm, is and Vishen wrote the book, and I talked to you about this when I read it, The Code of an Extraordinary Mind. And in the book, he talks about 3 limiting beliefs that most people face. First of all, society's rules. Rules.
Rules, yeah.
What do you think about those, especially in the culture we live in?
When I first heard Vision talk about that, rules or rules are bullshit rules. Are we?
Can you say
okay, so bullshit rules. Because to him, it's that every rule is bendable.
Every rule is bendable.
You can bend reality. That's part of his philosophy. And to me, honestly, you can put rules all you want, but life's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen and it wants to happen.
Okay.
Right? So what are the rules besides being man-made? To me, the rules that cannot be messed up with are the laws of the universe. Oh yeah.
Okay,
that's a rule I don't want to mess with.
Okay.
But beyond that, it's man-made. Like, I don't want to say that those rules are not man-made, but this is literally the science of life. But then again, if you're going to tell me you can't, I don't know, you can't jump that high. Let's talk about high performance in athletics.
Yeah.
It was proven to, I study a lot of action adventure sports and athletes and their journey through that. And to a certain extent, there was a move or there was a height level that nobody could reach. But then when someone reached that, everybody then reached that. Why? Because if I'm able to know that this is possible, then I'm going to try to aim for that. But if I think it's impossible, then I'm not even going to try to aim for that. Right? So who put that rule that this is not possible? One way or another. I don't think if you get my point. I don't know if you...
No, I get it, of course. The glass ceilings you put on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's society. It's there to give us all the rules in order to me, how I understand it, at least, to not allow us to reconnect with our truth, which is our power, and then they lose their power.
Okay, so it's very interesting. I want to see it from a standpoint of a little teenager who's in society and who knows he's meant for more, maybe like we were when we were younger, but that has all these rules that are around him. What should he kind of question?
First of all, get to know who you are. don't focus on the outside. Don't try to focus on what are the rules outside of me, or how should I act outside to make it. Who am I? That's the question. Reconnect with who you are. Start by exploring that inner world. Ask yourself, what makes up who I am? What kind of beliefs do I have in how is my subconscious mind wired? How is my mind wired? And how do you know how your mind is wired when you don't have professional support? One thing is journaling. When you write down, the words that you use is how you talk to yourself in your mind. Are you saying, I should have done that, I should do this? This tells me that you have a critical voice that's always blah, blah, blah,
Wow.
trying to tame you. It's about, being aware of what are the things that trigger me. Let me go and get triggered by people so I understand what are the unhealed emotions so that I go through them. And the more that that person knows who they are, the more that they don't no longer attach or identify themselves with what happens outside of them. And the more that they go beyond what's outside of them. And then that's it.
They go above the
Above the
environment.
rules. Exactly.
Above the rules.
Yeah.
I like this. I love this. I realize that I do this.
Yeah.
When I journal, I write, I should have.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a very critical mind.
I used to do that.
So what do you do now? So what's the alternative? What do I replace it with?
You can just simply question it. Why should I do this? What if I don't?
Okay.
Then what happens? Allow yourself to be.
Allow yourself.
I really want to do that? Who told me that this should happen?
Okay. I like this a lot because who told me this should happen?
Whose voice is that? Is it my voice or is it the voice of, I don't know, my teacher, my
wow,
mom,
okay.
my dad?
Okay. Because then the awareness grows from this.
It's 1,000%.
And here you start realizing who you really are at the core of yourself. So not what society expects from me, but what do I really want?
That's why the attention is never outside of myself. It's, if you want to create anything, or manifestation, the rule for the equation for that, it's 80% inner work, 20% outer work. Because there needs to be outer work. Action needs to be put because going back to the laws of physics or the laws of the universe, an object in motion remains in motion. An object at rest remains at rest. So if you want to create something, you need to put that object in motion for it to remain in motion. If it's not in motion, it's going to remain at rest, right? So yes, action is needed. It has to be done. But before that, there needs to be inner work. Why? That's where we go deep.
Okay. We're going deep as you want. So
what let's understand how life is. So everything is energy, right?
Everything is energy.
Everything has a frequency. The reason why you're able to hear my voice because it's vibrating at a certain frequency that you're able to hear. The reason why you can't hear other sounds is because it's vibrating at a frequency you're not able to hear, but the dogs are, so they can detect danger.
This is so crazy. This is so crazy because I sometimes see my dog. He looks around.
Because he can hear things we can't.
He can hear things we can't.
Exactly. And if you go on YouTube right now and you put, I don't know what the experiment is called, but it's where there's sand and then they shift the frequency and then the sand starts to make different shapes based on the different frequencies. Because everything takes shape depending on the frequency that holds. Like that pillow, for example, it's made of atoms and particles that are resonating at a certain frequency to create that shape. Change its frequency, it changes its shape.
Okay.
Right? So here, the same thing when it comes to us, we are electromagnetic beings, right? So we do have a frequency. But then again, what kind of frequency am I putting outside? Because going back to the laws of physics, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So everything that I'm putting out there, I'm receiving just as equal.
Cause and effect.
Exactly. So if I'm putting out good energy, I'm receiving good energy. If I'm putting out bad energy, I'm receiving bad energy. How do I choose what to put out? I choose because you can tell me that I'm a good person, but I'm always surrounded by bad people, right? But I'm putting out good energy, but I always get hurt. How's your subconscious mind wired? Do you deserve to be loved? Or do you expect people to hurt you? Because subconsciously, that subconscious thought holds a frequency as well. And that subconscious thought has that frequency that it has. It's within you and you're putting it out there. So the frequency that you put out there is the frequency that you are.
Wow.
Right? So who am I? It's the being, everything that creates who I am, consciously and subconsciously. So once I heal from every emotion that I don't deal with is stuck inside of myself, whether it's in my subconscious mind or in my body. So that emotion that's unhealed has a low frequency. And that's why people start getting diseases. Because that low frequency is creating a low frequency of energy in my body. And it's creating a lack of flow. And when your organ is vibrating at a low frequency, disease then happens.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So if you heal that, you're elevating that frequency of energy again. And so your body's going back to health. And so here, if I'm healing and if I'm releasing and if I'm doing the inner work, I'm increasing my energy, my internal frequency. And if I'm increasing my internal frequency, I'm increasing the frequency I'm putting outside. If I'm increasing the frequency I'm putting outside, I'm increasing the frequency I'm getting back. So I'm changing my outside life by changing my inner. That's the power.
Wow. Okay, I just had a thought, which is really interesting.
That's why I say become, resonate, attract, because you need to become first.
That's
to
your motto.
To attract, yeah.
Become, resonate, attract.
Yes.
Because you have to first become what you want, which is really interesting because most people want to attract something, but they're not what they need to be to attract it.
Exactly. And that's why when I work with people and they're like, I want to meet the love of my life. Who are you? Who are you trying to become that person first to be able to attract that equal and opposite reaction? What kind of person do you need to become to attract that love of your life? It's not just, he needs to have this, he needs to have that, he needs to have this. Okay, who are you willing to be? Are you willing to become that person first?
To match.
Yes, to match the frequencies.
Okay, this is a topic that I love.
Okay.
Love. And you know this especially because we always talk about this. One thing about this world is that we're brought into the world and we see everything around us, but it's by closing our eyes that we see the most.
Mm-hmm.
We feel the
Love
most.
That.
And what I'm really interested in is a lot of people, when I started this podcast, I was like, who do I want to talk to?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are illusioned by the fact that something outside of themselves will help them feel fulfilled or make them fill their cup. So what you just said really inspires people to go back inside, to do the inner work, to discover themselves, to reconnect, which I think is extremely powerful.
I've lived that. You said, I walk my talk, I make sure I do.
Yep.
To me, I can't tolerate hypocrites. I'm not a hypocrite. I try as much as I can not to be one. So if I'm going to say something, it means I've lived it. It means I've experienced it. It means that to say that I'm sure of that piece of information, like I'm a result of that piece of information, right? And that's why I know that this works. Once I started doing the inner work, once I started to do the healing, I did not understand anything that was happening around me because it was just pure magic. Flowing. Yeah.
That's so powerful because once you get out of the way, of your own way, everything starts aligning and flowing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like for example, I get a lot in my way. And I know I've talked a lot about myself, but it's because
I still get in my way. I'm not perfect, I'm still doing the work every day.
Of course. My question is, how do you get into that flow of life?
Surrender. And to surrender, you need to face fear right head on, right? Because
how do you face fear? Because it's hard.
You understand where it's coming from. What is it trying to do? It's trying to keep me safe and alive. That's what my mind is trying to do. So understand it. I feel afraid. Okay, tell me more. I talk to myself like that. If I'm feeling something, if I'm afraid, for example, I'll give an example.
Yeah.
In October, I was in Singapore and I went to Universal Studios to go on the roller coasters.
Okay.
Freaking hate that. So, and there's something that I don't like. It's just dropping, falling down. I don't like that feeling.
Okay.
I don't like it. I don't enjoy the experience. And so part of a ride, it was dropping down. And so I was feeling a lot of fear. And I asked myself, as if I'm talking to someone, because you are. Okay, so what are you afraid of? Tell me more about that fear. I'm afraid that, because that's unfamiliar. My brain is trying to keep me safe and alive. You might die. Or you're going to, I explained that experience for myself and for my brain so that it becomes more familiar to my brain so that it's okay. And I told me, okay, so what are the measures that are being taken for you to stay alive on that ride? You're going to be in your seat with your seatbelt. So what do you want to get out of this? Do you want to, the adventure? Do you want to, just the thought of overcoming your fear for that to give you that boost or for you to be able to help, literally. I had my friend there with me and he was like, what are you going to tell? He was literally, he was shit.
Great.
Ya Allah.
This shows the process in Lebanon. So, to come back,
Yeah.
we were talking about the importance of surrender.
Yes. So I actually had a friend with me, going with me on that ride, and
Okay.
he's so cute, because he's my mentor's son. So he was like, and he was giving a full-on motivational speech, and that usually never works on me, but he was so good at this. So he was like, "What are you going to tell your clients? That I was afraid, that I wasn't able to?" I'm like, "Hell no, I'm going up there." But as I was going up there, I was so scared. So
Okay.
here it's just talking to the fear. Communicating with it, and because and understanding where is it coming from, what am I really afraid of, because what you're really afraid of is, because example, the simplest example, most people want to be right in an argument, but how the brain takes it, if I'm wrong then I'll die. That's how extreme it is.
So in every circumstance, it's no matter what, it's trying to save you.
The back of it is trying to keep you safe and alive. Everything that brings you pain is dangerous and it's going to kill you, unless pain is so familiar that you go towards pain. Right? A lot of
so
people,
you're so used to pain that you take that route.
That becomes familiar. I don't know life without pain. For some people, people who have gone through pain their entire life, they don't know life without pain. So when they rest, alarm systems start to go on. Oh, this is unfamiliar, I need to go back.
Wow. And that goes back to your story that we began with, which was basically when you had that accident, your first reaction was scenario 2, which is positivity. How did that work for me? So because it was familiar.
That's what became familiar for me. Yeah. My brain switches onto positivity like no other. It's super fast at doing that because I rewired my brain to function like that. How can I see the cup half full instead of half empty? And
so anyone can rewire their brain?
For sure. Because why? Scientifically speaking, there's a concept in your brain and there's a concept called neuroplasticity.
Yep.
And it's the ability for your brain to change its shape and to create new neural patterns and new neural pathways. And if my brain is able to create new neural pathways, then I'm able to change literally, physically, the shape of my brain. To explain more on that, because I get that, it might not be clear for the people not in the field. There was a study that was made on taxi drivers in London. And did you know about that?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they did MRI scans for taxi drivers and they did MRI scans for non-taxi drivers. And they saw that taxi drivers had the bigger hippocampus. The hippocampus is a part in the brain that's responsible for space, for direction, partly. Right? So why did taxi drivers have a bigger hippocampus than non-taxi drivers? And so what they realize is that they use that area more to be able to remember the roads, to remember the space, to be able to navigate through. And so the more that they use that part of the brain, the more new neural connections that were formed in that area, and then so the bigger it got. And so if I focus on the good, my brain is going to create new neural pathways that help me to directly, because my brain wants to be efficient. It doesn't want to waste time on things it's not going to use. Right? So what you don't use, you lose. So the neural pathways, so that's here. You're going to tell me, how can I stop being negative? It's not about how can I stop being negative. It's about how can I become positive. What do I mean by that? It's so simple, yet it's so powerful. Because if I'm going to keep focusing on how can I stop being negative? How can I stop what am I focusing on? Negative. My brain does not get I can't or I can. It gets the what. Right? It focuses on the what, the negative, negative, negative. So I'm not going to be able to change. But if I shift my focus, how can I be more positive? You see the power of questions? It's so simple yet so powerful. If I ask myself, how can I be more positive? And I keep focusing on that every day, I'm no longer focusing on the negative. So the neural pathways that were connected to that, I'm not using them. So my brain wants to be effective and it wants to be efficient. It's going to degrade them literally, physically. They're going to turn into proteins, amino acids, go outside of my body. And I'm going to lose that neural pathway. And I'm going to create a new one.
So it really shows that you can change.
Yes, you can. Consistent actions over time, a lot of healing, a lot of inner work, and you can become anything that you want to become. And that's why you can create your reality.
You can create your reality. Yes. That's so powerful. I love this. Okay. Let's go there. I recently we talked, and we were doing a script and just doing a video
Yeah.
for. You said you had a talk with the mental coach of Messi.
Yes, Florencia Andres.
And can you talk to us more about what Messi was going through mentally and his confidence and what was happening there?
Yeah, but before I say that, it's important to say that he gave the permission to Florencia to be able to share about his story.
Of course.
Not just any two coaches that they get together to start talk about their clients, confidentiality
Yeah, of course,
is everything.
of course.
So what she was telling me is that the reason why Messi wanted a coach was because he was not feeling confident in himself anymore.
The
in his
best player
game.
in the world.
The best player in the world was not confident about his game.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So that goes back to, normal basketball players, professional basketball players who play nationally, not internationally.
Yeah, of course.
If he is prone to not be confident, then it's only normal for you to not feel confident. And it's not because he does not feel confident, then you get the permission to not be confident. But that only shows that this is human nature. We go through self-doubt. But it's not about this. It's not about me doubting myself because that's natural, that's normal. It's about, what do I do when I experience self-doubt? What he did was go and ask for professional help. And that's where Florencia came in, and that's where she helped him to build that confidence again. And then he was out of it and back into the game fully. Right?
Wow.
But once you don't deal with those emotions, it's going to put you down on that negative spiral of emotions and thoughts. And so it's going to take you back instead of move you forward. A lot of athletes think that, okay, if I don't think about my emotions, I'm not wasting time on those, so I can focus more on my game.
Yep.
Yes, but no, you're not wasting time on those, because if you don't deal with them, they're going to come up in different ways. They're going to come up with how angry you get when the coach says anything. They're going to come up in how you deal with your teammates. They're going to come up when you're about to shoot that shot. Are you actually going to go for it, or you're not going to feel confident to do that when everybody's counting on you? It's in the moments of pressure where you need that mindset the most. If you don't have the tools to be able to deal with that moment, then you're really wasting your potential.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so powerful because, first of all, I can relate. Second of all, there's a lot of players that train a lot but have low confidence, so that doesn't translate in the game.
Yeah, and they lose a lot of opportunities. And I know a lot of great, super talented athletes who were about to get drafted into the NBA, but they didn't because of how they managed their emotions. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad, because it's that one thing that you can work on that's stopping you from not actualizing your full potential and living your dream. That's the difference between good and great. It's the great go full on spectrum, spiritually, mindfully, emotionally, and physically. It's not just the physical.
It's not just the physical. This is, yeah, it is. And now, the thing that really fascinates me in what you say is that you take a comprehensive approach. It's not just because you used to be a personal trainer, so the body, but you used to also a dietitian. So in those things, it was mostly focused on the body, right? But you didn't.
No.
You focused more on the emotional, the spiritual, the mindful.
I couldn't focus on just either giving people diets or helping them create a certain physique. It was not true to me. I wouldn't be living my truth. So that's why I integrated like the mental part of it. I even had a segment where that was called treadmill therapy, where when my client finishes the workout, they have 20 minutes of walking on the treadmill, and we do treadmill therapy. Or just talk things out, because that's how you release and you actually help the body to feel better and to heal and to become healthier and stronger. If you're holding all of these emotions, but you're coming to the gym to work out, to have a better physique, what are you doing? Are you actually becoming healthier if there are those emotions inside? No, let's get them all out. Sometimes those sessions looked like 45 minutes of crying, because that's what your body needed today to release.
And that's healthy.
Yes, that is healthy.
And so health is not only about the foods you eat or how you train.
They are important, though. They are super important.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's also about the emotions inside of you that you have to deal with.
And it's kind of like a cycle, because if your gut has an imbalance in the good and bad bacteria, and if you don't have a healthy gut, it's gonna decrease the amount of serotonin levels in your body, decrease your happiness, create more sad moods if you want, and it's gonna decrease your amount of concentration, and it's gonna etc., it's going to have an impact on your emotions. And your emotions are going to have an impact on your gut, because this gut is the emotional brain, right? And so if you're not happy, you're going to feel like you're cramping up in your stomach sometimes, right? So it could, like, it depends on the
Yeah, of
person.
course, of course.
But so it's really a cycle. It's a
Wow.
full spectrum. You can't isolate one from the other.
And it's a loop.
Yes.
So
that's why in my programs in high performance, I always say to help you create a balance in all areas of your life. Because yes, I'm a high performance coach, so I work with high performers, with people who care so much about their careers and their growth. But they cannot deny their emotions. They cannot deny their adventures, their creative time. They're connecting with the community, going out with friends and family. If you're not doing that, I'm not really helping you. I'm isolating you from half of who you are and half of your life.
wow.
Yeah.
Because a lot of high performers, what springs to mind right away is Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. They used to isolate themselves.
Yeah. No, you see, there are phases.
Yeah.
I thought about that too. So, okay, the best people really put things aside to be able to become the best, because you need to obsess about your goal.
Yeah, you
at
need
some
to
point.
sacrifice.
Yes, and you do need to sacrifice, but you also need to understand where you need to be clear on your priorities. And choose your priorities. So when you're sacrificing, you know where that sacrifice is coming from and what you're choosing to want.
Yeah.
And at the same time, to know what you value and what really brings you happiness and fulfillment, and to be doing that and making a place for that as well.
Okay.
For example, Kobe Bryant is a family person, and he's also a spiritual person as well. And he used to give time for meditation. He used to give time for his family. He used to give time for his community, not just basketball, but when it's time for basketball, it's time for basketball, and he goes full out.
Okay.
But yes, he used to work out several times a day. He used to train a lot. He used to be the first one up. But at the same time, there are some core things in his life that were there that grounded him. Because if you don't, you cannot really last that long.
Cannot be sustainable.
It's not sustainable. Yeah.
That's really powerful, because I think we had a talk with Erwin, which is a good friend of yours, and he was talking about how Coach Phil Jackson introduced mindfulness and the Zen philosophy to Michael Jordan and Kobe, and how this was also a grounding place.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for Phil Jackson, honestly, and what he did in the sports field, in basketball specifically. I love that there was someone who had a good position in basketball, who was able to
instill these positive habits.
And I know it's not it wasn't easy. I can imagine. I don't know it personally, but I can imagine, because one, it was new.
Yeah.
Two, people were unfamiliar to it. Three, he's dealing with athletes, and he's dealing with successful professional athletes. And one of the main things that we do with dealing with athletes is helping them manage their egos. So can you imagine, like, you're gonna want me to sit and meditate? What is this gonna do? I can imagine this conversation going on, right? Because I know, I understand that, and I see how athletes start with me and then how they end with me, and they start with, honestly, I'm here because I know I'm supposed to be here, but I'm not really convinced that I need to be doing that work, but I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt. And then by the end of the journey, they're like, I wish I did it sooner.
Wow.
Because I just became a much better player. Right. And I don't make this up. So you have to really put your ego aside and allow yourself to grow, because as long as your ego is there, you have a limit on your growth level.
As long as your ego is there, you have a limit on your growth. This is so powerful. Okay, I like where this is going. I want to explore more as so we talked about, to recap what we talked about. We talked about being a creator of your life. We talked about the second thing, which was breaking free from limiting beliefs. And we talked about here about societal rules. We talked about trauma. We talked about insecurity. I want to explore, how can you actually reconnect with your higher self, so then you're able to flow and the miracles start happening and you can bend and create your reality.
Still figuring that out myself, because there are levels. So I'm gonna say what I said before again. It's one, to be able to reconnect with my truth, I need to first know who I am now. What makes up who I am now? Right? So how is my subconscious mind wired? What are my belief systems? What are the stories I have in my mind? What are the identities that I give myself? What are the things that are no longer serving me and the things that do?
Okay.
And then, because here you need to know, okay, what makes up who I am? To be able to then know what direction to take on that healing journey and to really reconnect with your truth.
So first there's the awareness, and then once you know, because you talked about intuition, and I think for me intuition is a big thing.
Yeah,
I love intuition.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. So you said in the video that intuition screams, it screams at you and tells you to jump.
Yes.
Right? But if you have those barriers that are blocking you, the limiting beliefs,
You're not gonna jump.
You're not gonna jump.
That's one of the biggest issues that high performers deal with, and they come to me for. I know I'm meant for something bigger, but there's something holding me back. What is that something? Your limiting beliefs. It's those stories you have in your mind. It's the identity you give yourself. Those things are stopping you and they're holding you back and they're not allowing you to jump because your actions are going to follow how you are wired and the definition you give to everything. I always say this sentence: we are conscious beings, subconsciously driven.
Wow, I love what you just said. Wait, just before you say anything else, because I want to emphasize what you said. We are conscious beings,
subconsciously driven.
Subconsciously driven.
Yes.
Okay.
That will be in my book one day. So what I mean by that is that let's say I know I want to get to this goal. Yeah. And I know it takes 1, 2, 3 to make it happen. Somehow I find myself doing 3, 4, 5. Why? I know I'm meant to do these because I'm aware. One, I know that this is the way. I'm conscious. I know that these are the steps that I need to take, conscious. But my actions are going to follow my subconscious wiring. Subconsciously driven. Because how I define how life is, how I define myself, what I deserve, is going to dictate my behavior. And so even if I know I'm subconsciously driven, my actions are going to follow how I'm wired, not what I know from here. It's how I'm wired from there.
Okay. This is so powerful because it covers kind of everything we've talked about until now. The conscious being, subconsciously driven.
Yes.
Conscious in terms of the awareness.
Yes.
You know there's something wrong. And subconscious driven is where those limiting beliefs take you away from fixing the issue.
They're going to dictate your behaviors and they're going to create. That's why Marissa Peer, one of the top hypnotherapists in the world, she always says that your subconscious beliefs create your reality. She's 1,000% right, because my subconscious beliefs are going to dictate my behaviors. My behaviors are going to dictate my reality. Okay. Right? So if I believe that if I'm not good enough, then I'm not going to go and apply for that job. Then I'm not going to get that job. Yeah. But if I believe that I am good enough, I'm going to have the courage to go and apply for that. And I'm going to have that job, probably, if it's meant for me, right? So that's one way of that dictating my behavior.
Okay. Talking about intuition, there's a friend who said intuition, when it screams at you, yes, it means it's leading you to your greatness. How much can you relate to that statement?
What is your greatness? Let's start here. Let's start there.
Yeah, sure.
To me, I tell people, my clients, I help you have the courage to step into your power. What is your power? Your power is your true self in the present moment.
What do you mean by true self in the present moment?
It's me who, but when I say true self, I mean reconnecting back with my soul that we just talked about, right? So we talked about the mind that's trying to navigate the world and the soul that is the essence of my being. It's who I am. It's where my gifts lie. When I reconnect with that truth and I'm being, not doing alone.
You're being.
Being. But I don't want to isolate being from doing either, because you also need to put in action.
Yeah,
right?
The balance.
Exactly. So when I'm being myself in the present moment, then I'm resonating my true frequency out into the world. That is the most powerful frequency I can resonate, right? Because if that's what I'm made of, then I'm creating and attracting my reality. And other people will feel that more than you know. That's one lesson that hit me hard last year, because I was at an event and there was 1,200 people there. And I used to walk from the door to there were several stations of workshops. And people used to come up to me and they were like, there's something about your energy. There's a light that's coming out of you. Or like, your smile has such a beautiful energy. Or it's when you first hear it, that's super nice. That's nice. Wow, thank you. But then when you hear it, and I'm not exaggerating, when you hear it from 40 plus people, you start to question yourself.
On that same night?
No, it was over a week.
Over
the span of a week. That was crazy. I'm like, why? What do they see? I don't know these people. I haven't interacted. They randomly come up to me to tell me that.
That's crazy.
Why are they saying? What is it about me? What am I doing? Why? And then I realized that what you see in others is what you have within you, right? They were telling me about the light that's coming out of me. So they were seeing my light, which was reminding them of their light. So if I was just being, I know that I want to help people reconnect with their truth. That was part of my purpose.
Yeah. What I'm really interested in is once you have that intuitive message that tells you jump, how do you build the courage? Because we talked about recognizing your truth. How do you build the courage to live up to your truth?
So let's go back to the mind.
Okay.
Because it is, integrated. We cannot disconnect from one.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So how's my mind? The reason why I'm able to answer that is because I ask myself those questions, and instead of fighting it, I sit in it and I'm like, let me understand why I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So you reconnect back with your mind and you're like, okay, so what does my mind want to keep me safe and alive? And my mind's gonna take me to words, because my mind's gonna also help me take the action, and because my mind is stopping me.
Yeah.
Right. So what does my mind take me towards? What's familiar? All right. So jumping is unfamiliar.
Okay.
So how can I make it familiar? To do more of it, to do it often, right? But it's the first time when you do it that's really scary. So let me make the first time smaller.
Wow. Okay.
So
let me kind of remove the pressure.
Okay. Let me just if I'm afraid of, I don't know, putting my hand in hot water, let me put it in warm water.
So that relates kind of, to go back to what you said, to the laws of physics, that an object in motion stays in. So the momentum, building kind of that momentum.
Exactly. And here, in this case, in the jumping, because you really need a lot of courage to jump into your potential. Like I know how courageous you need to be, and I work through that with my clients. A lot of my clients have a goal of, I want to reconnect with my intuition deeper. How do you do that? How do you build trust with a friend? If a girl comes up to talk to you and she's like, yeah, you can trust me. I'm like all the other girls. I'm not like all the other girls.
Okay.
You're going to be like, yeah, whatever. But then she tells you something and she actually does it. And you're like, okay.
I kind of trust.
And then she tells you, I'm not going to do this. And she actually doesn't do that. You're like, okay. And then she tells you, I'm going to be there for you when you need me. And she actually shows up. You're going to be like, all right. And the more that she does that over time, the more that you start to really trust that person. Consistent actions over time builds trust. So the same thing for you with your brain. If I trust my intuition, that's one time when it's telling me, go talk to that person in the room. And I go talk to that person in the room and I get a good feeling out of it. I'm like, my intuition was right. And then when I say, I don't want to go to that party, and then I don't go to that party, and then something happens, I'm like, my intuition was right. And then if my intuition tells me, and the little things, and I actually follow that intuition and that inner voice, the more that I do that and the more that I see that my intuition is always right, I'm building trust in that intuition. And so when it tells me to jump, I'm going to be like, I know it's going to be right. I know it's going to be better for me because I've done it all the time before and it's always right. So I'm going to jump. And you do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it comes back to the point of what you said, which is basically our subconscious drives us. And the more we build the habit of trusting, the more our subconscious leads us
towards that instead of away from it. The mind and life is really simple. It's not that complicated.
It's kind of understanding the basics, and then from there you can deal with
because
yourself.
It's all about the basics. Let's talk about training.
Yeah.
We still go back to squats. We still go back to deadlifts. We still go back to leg presses. It's all about the basics. But then Then from the basics, you have the different philosophies.
Okay.
You have the philosophy of Chopra, you have the philosophy of Joe Dispenza, you have the philosophy of Eckhart Tolle, you have the philosophy of, but they all go, you have the philosophy of Jesus.
Jesus.
They all go back to that same truth.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the truth is the truth. How you understand it depends on the way that you understand things in your life, because some people are more logical, some people are more creative, some people are more visual, some people are more auditory, some people are more kinesthetic, right? So how do I understand life? Let me first know. That goes back knowing who you are. How do I enjoy understanding life? I'm very creative. I'm very visual. So I like to experience things and, be in it. I like to feel things. I like to see things. I like to create things, right? So, all right, I'm not going to take myself to statistics and numbers and facts, because even though I like, from coming from scientific point of view, of course I go back to that. But if you want to if I want to create something, I'd rather not do the market research and see all of the numbers. I'd rather go out there and think of, how can I create a good marketing campaign for that? How can I create this in an innovative way? How can I? That's where my superpowers
To
are. So I'm gonna
experience it, kind of.
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
knowing that about myself, that's how I will talk to myself as well. How is my brain gonna understand that information? If I read a book that helps me scientifically know that if I jump, the rate of me succeeding is going to be this percentage, or is it going to be experiencing something and really having communication and writing about it, and being and using the creative tools that I have to be able to experience that?
So understanding yourself is at the essence of it all.
Because the essence of it all is you. Everything
Wow.
outside of you is a reflection of who you are.
I repeated wow today
Everything.
300 times because it's really, it really is wow. Because it's so simple yet so powerful.
Yes.
And these are all things that literally this talk, imagine a little kid or anyone watching this, I would have wished that 10 years ago I was sitting here listening to this.
I would have wished. I would have wished 10 years ago I had someone to guide me. That's why I make time for people in university to have them as clients. I really like, I know I work with executives and professional athletes and people in the business world, but I make time for people who are just starting out, because I wanted that so bad. And I know if I had that, I would have been in a completely different place. No regrets, that's my path. But because that's my path, I learned from it and I want to apply and give back. Right? So I wish.
It's so, no, it's a liberating talk. And what I find interesting in here is that we covered kind of what's stopping you from connecting to that thing. What does it take? The first step, which is awareness. And then how can you take the jump? It's by understanding yourself.
But there's something in the middle that is so simple yet also so powerful.
What is it?
Accepting.
Oof.
Because I'm aware of
That's accepting is part of the, is a part of the healing.
that. For sure. But so let's say you accept the fact that you're not okay. Oh, sorry, you are aware of the fact that you're not okay. I'm not okay. No, but I can't not be okay because I need to provide for my family and I need to keep going. But I'm tired. No, you can't be tired because you need to grind hard. You need to be successful. If you want to be successful, you have to work hard. But I'm feeling exhausted and I feel like I need a break. No, you can't take a break. As long as there's a lack of acceptance, there's resistance from moving forward. Awareness is something, but lack of acceptance is not going to take your awareness anywhere. But if I say I'm not okay and I'm tired, and you're like, I am not okay, I accept that. And I'm tired and I accept that. Okay, now where can I go? What can I do about it? So you're able to move forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another one.
Because let's put like a ting,
like,
ting, ting.
like the clips about the wows. That's the trailer. I think here what's really so interesting is that healing, as you said it, is a mix between awareness and acceptance.
It starts there.
It starts there.
Yes.
So it's the starting point.
Yes.
And it's hard because high performers do have that tendency to not accept.
Mm-hmm.
They are aware of what's wrong.
Because what's super loud is the ego that's trying to protect them from the pain so that they keep
excelling and improving and achieving.
Yeah. And that critical voice is so loud in high performers who are, high achievers. Because the people who think that they're not good enough that voice, that critical voice. You have to do this. Why aren't you doing that? You need to be doing this. That it's that voice that's parenting you all the time. That is so loud in those people because they're always so hard on themselves. So they're always not accepting how they're feeling because there's someone that's gonna be shouting at them in their mind.
It's like you're living with you're living in your head with a angry, judgmental neighbor.
And I've lived
all the time.
and I have lived, and it's horrible. Once that voice started to dim down, I lived a completely different life. And I love it. And I'm doing better. So that voice really is nothing.
So that's a really, really powerful conversation. I would like to end it with, I know we talked about the intuition.
Mhm.
I want to end it with a practical tool. I know Vishen talks a lot about bending your reality and having an empowering vision, which now is much clearer for people because if you understand who you are and you detach from the societal rules, the trauma, the things that limit you, and you know what you want, then it makes a more fulfilling vision easier to have.
Yeah.
But then also being present, which we talked about also, which is awareness and acceptance, which is what Eckhart Tolle talks about in his book, which we both love so much and
Yeah.
we've talked about before. I want to talk about how do you actually put it into practice? Because for me, the goal of this podcast is to be able to give people the ability to be rich outside, to have meaningful success, but also being rich inside. So having the fulfillment and happiness and alignment that you talk about all the time. So you have done the 6-phase meditation.
Mhm.
Can you explain to us?
I'm certified.
You're certified. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. And could you give us kind of how to do it and or how to add it to our day-to-day life?
I'm gonna answer you as a high performance coach.
Okay.
As a high performer, to be able, what are high performers? High performers are people who can be successful and are successful, and they can sustain that for a longer period of time, and they still feel fulfillment in all different areas of their life, even when they're fully succeeding. You don't have to sacrifice one thing for the other, right? And so to be able to do that, you need to create systems, and those systems need to be holistic. They need to have, one, build the right habits and the right routines that keep you in check every day, to ground you and get you back to everything that really adds value into your life. Like, for example, if journaling helps you feel better, do it every day. Make time for that. Build it as a habit. Grounding or meditation or prayer or, eating healthy food, taking care of your body, having a good support system, an accountability system, having your own coaches and mentors who hold you accountable and help you go through these things, because you cannot do it on your own. And there are people who are there and willing to help you. So if you really want, so yes, you want to connect with your truth. Yes, you want to go after your goals. Yes, you want to jump into whatever your intuition is telling you to jump into. You want to build the courage. You want to do all of these things. You are what you repeatedly do, right? Going back to Aristotle as well. So it's the habits that you do every single day that create who you are in the future. So what are those habits that you're going to be building? You need to put on a pen and paper, where do I want to be? And then what kind of person do I need to become? And how can I become that person today? How can I walk like him, talk like him, dress like him, show up like him, shake hands like him? What decisions does he take? I need to start taking decisions the way that he does. I need to start building the routines that that person does every single day for me to become him. It's not about walking towards that goal. It's about bringing that person to the present moment, giving him life today, start acting like him so I elevate my vibrational frequency and match his.
And you become, resonate, attract.
Yes.
And here, then, it comes back to the start of this podcast where you said, we start out, as Aristotle said, as a white piece of paper.
Yes.
And then with your habits and systems, you start kind of shaping your life.
Yes.
And you start having kind of a picture.
1,000%.
A vision or
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, that's so powerful. I like this. Okay. I like that you shifted the attention towards the systems and habits because it's tailored.
It is the 20% action as well. It's not the 80% inner work only.
Of course.
And how is the inner work integrated into the action? By putting in routines and habits and systems and people and community and accountability and even health and fitness, everything into place. clearly and
Okay.
actually take consistent actions towards them.
Okay, so the systems and the habits, because it's important, because everyone's different, and someone might do well with journaling, another person with meditation, another person.
That's why
so
you
I
need to know what works for you.
need
Yeah.
to know what works. It comes back to the point of
Mhm.
everything we talked about.
Yeah.
I like that you proposed this, and for people that are interested or that have a kind of pull towards meditation, how does the 6 phase meditation help them become meaningful high achievers whilst enjoying every step along the way?
What I love about the 6 phase meditation is that one, first, it helps you to connect with your heart and to connect with the love and to really feel love in all of your body and then put it out there into the world.
Yeah.
And it also helps you to connect with your mind, where you visualize the kind of reality that you want to do and you feel the feelings that you feel and experience in that visualization and in that world or goal that you want to achieve. And it also connects you with your community where you're giving back. And it also connects you spiritually with God to give you the blessing. So it really encompasses your mind, the body, soul, everything, right? So by putting in that tool into your everyday practice, what you're doing is that you're connecting with spirituality, your mind, your emotions, and your physical. You're connecting with all of you, and you're supercharging those, and you're starting your day with that, or you're ending your day with that. So it's really a holistic approach towards growth and towards grounding and towards healing and towards also connecting with your vision, and ultimately then after that you're going after it.
So it's kind of like you're saying, one habit that could recompass or kind of what I'm trying to say is kind of put together everything we've talked about today. Kind of the awareness,
It's one tool.
one tool
Yes.
that could really help.
Yes.
I tested it out. I tried it.
Yeah.
I stopped it because I didn't feel like it resonated. It just didn't feel. I felt more compelled to breath work or something more.
It depends. Every person.
Every person's different.
Exactly.
So then it comes back to the point.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I want to end this by saying that you can follow Maria on everywhere. Maria J Saab. Is that it? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Maria J Saab on Instagram. Maria Saab on LinkedIn. TikTok soon.
TikTok coming back?
I don't want to say I should, but yeah, why not?
You're doing content much. You're coming back, so people should really follow because they're gonna get value from it.
And oof, I mean, 2024 started like that, but the way it's ending,
it's gonna be next level.
Incredible. Yes, because I have like big plans, and every plan that I have is how can I serve my community more? How can I add value to my community more? So if you want this kind of value, tune in.
Yeah, why not? I know Maria since a year ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
COVID. 2019.
Bro, it passed so fast.
5 years ago.
Bro, show 5 years ago.
2019. No. 2020.
2020.
4 years ago.
No way.
Yep. Crazy.
The first time we talked was on Instagram, on a live.
Was it Instagram?
You know what's crazy?
TikTok.
I did the live here. I sat here.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that was the first time we met.
Oof.
I swear on Jad.
Yeah, that's right.
And the
I was doing the live
thing
series,
is, from the first time I talked to you, I felt a very healing energy. Like Anjad. And I think that so many people could benefit from, and that's coming from the heart, from listening to you, and actually all the wisdom you share is really, really powerful.
I really hope so. Thank you. And thank you for everything that you do. And I know you know that the same applies to you, and the way that how you think, your philosophy, how well cultured you are, and all of these realms, mental, physical, emotional. And I respect you for the work that you do. And I'm so proud of you for this podcast. Finally, I can't wait to see where this is going. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. Thank you for giving me the space to share my knowledge. And thank you for giving us the space to really get richer inside.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything because you've been a big part in this process. And I want people to know that. Because a few months ago, 6 to 8 months ago, me and you set a goal to start this podcast.
Yes.
And I had so many things going on, and also so many limiting beliefs. I'm a human too, so I have a lot of things that I need to improve, and you came as a light and kind of helped me to go through it.
I'm so glad.
And I'm glad that you've been like kind of an angel that came to life.
Thank
Anjad.
you.
بس
Thank
ولا
you.
Anjad.
Thank you. أنت كمان. You
Because
too.
because back then, and I was doing something, it wasn't my passion. I was making money from it. It was enjoyable, but not. Hey, my heart is full.
Mm.
And when I touched podcasting, and you pulled me also to break those limiting beliefs and to just you instill those seeds, which maybe took a bit more time than
It takes
most
as much
people.
time as it does. No, that's not
Yeah.
true. Don't say that story in your mind. That's not true.
But I'm glad that it finally came into fruition.
Me too, and I can't wait to see where it's gonna go. You thought that your journey was gonna end up behind the camera. People need to hear what you have to say, Fouad. And I feel like you need to be a guest on your own show. If you want me to question you in one episode, I'd love to. Like
Maria
because I feel like you have a lot of gems to share as well with people, and you have a lot of wisdom. So I'm happy that you're giving people the chance to hear you out as well.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
My biggest
through
pleasure.
this.
My biggest pleasure.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 5 of the Rich Inside podcast. And tune in every week, every Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern for a new episode.